versus Rogue here. And, you know, looking at this Hunter deck, it is going to be that kind of face Hunter. But you talked about it, and you said that you still think Miracle Rogue still has the advantage.
I think a lot of it is dependent on how the Miracle Rogue deck is built, and then more dependent on how the Miracle Rogue deck is played in the game. Because I think that the edge that Miracle Rogue has really shows, but it's so unnoticeable because the games are always so close. It comes down to like
so it
the
really
last.
shows, but it's very unnoticeable.
It's like it shows like when you put into practice and you take notes and you're diligent in your study. From a viewer perspective, it's hard to notice because the game comes down to such a close life total. It's usually decided by literally one extra turn of attack. So I think you have to give an advantage not only to the player who goes first, but the player who's kind of being more recklessly aggressive in this matchup because, again, both of these decks are aimed at having such a low critical mass.
Now, Animal Companion versus Misdirection. I mean, how important is the Misdirection here? He's hesitating a bit between the two. Animal Companion, kind of a very traditional pickup with the tracking. You'd normally be happy to see that. But you know, how important do you feel Misdirection is in this matchup? You know, when it could potentially be something very big, but at the same time, Misdirection could just be a 1 damage dagger hit.
Right. Two of the things that are coming into effect here when he chooses this Misdirection, I think of the fact that he drew the Eaglehorn Bow. I think if he didn't draw Eaglehorn Bow, he would be looking towards Animal Companion to get his board developed. But this Eaglehorn Bow presence with 2 traps, you're likely to get 12 points of damage out of this bow. Additionally, the Rogue deck has to be careful against these kinds of traps because they don't 100% know what they are. Some snipes have even been getting played on ladder because Miracle Rogue is so popular, and it's a very strong answer to when you know your opponent has to play either an Azure Drake or a Gadgetzan Auctioneer. So I wouldn't discount the possibility of something as crazy as Snipe. And at the same time, he still has to account for the fact that it's Explosive Trap or that it's Misdirection, and that this damage can really add up.
Yep, and I mean, he is just hammering home that damage so far. Already has him down to 25 with multiple traps in hand that you just talk about. So he's going to be able to continue to do that. But, you know, the Earthring Fox here, pretty nice draw there for him. Going to be able to heal up a little bit. Leroy already in hand as well. So, I mean, we're seeing the startings of some pretty big combos, some pretty scary times could be coming up here for Savjz. I mean, when we have 2 traps, you're looking at 12 damage, like you said, from the bow. You have 5 damage potentially from a kill command. You have 6 damage from your Leroy. You have, you know, the board to activate the kill command. You have a lot of stuff going on here. And he's going to have to take an additional 3 damage here with the misdirect when he misdirects onto his own Earthring Farseer.
So this is sort of one of those spots you find yourself in when you're in Miracle Rogue, is that you have to figure out a way to race your opponent down. So this Earthring Farseer, obviously a very critical draw. It's going to get 3 damage and it's going to put some pressure on the board. Again, you have to be racing. But sort of more importantly to note is how he actually approaches this game, because every point of damage matters. He chose to not attack with this dagger. And so it's doing one of 2 things. Number 1 is it's saying that he thinks that he can kill his opponent because his hand's so strong. And number 2 is he's favoring the utility of this to kind of wade through these traps, and so they don't hurt him as much as they could in the long run to kind of enable his race. But I traditionally like to favor dealing the extra damage because I think that every point of damage really matters in this matchup because you can miss 1 or 2 points here and there, and the 3% or the 6% of life total can be the difference in winning and losing.
Now, do you think we're going to see a Shadow Step on that Earthring Farseer and just try to heal up even more, or do you feel like you have to save that for that kind of kill combo with your Leroy?
Naturally, I think you look towards using Shadow Step as a flexible spell in this matchup. And one of the reasons why Earthring Farseer was such a great addition is because it gives you that flexibility with Shadow Step, where traditionally you only have Leroy Jenkins for it. So Alchemixt is coming into this knowing that Shadow Step on Earthring Farseer is a devastating play. So he has got 2 major options here. The one that I feel like I want to go with is Stone Tusk Boar into this 3/3, play this Explosive Trap, use your hero power, and kind of work from there.
But then he's very likely just going to be doing his, okay, so he wants to kill these off. So, I mean, he is going to be able to do that. He goes with the kill command. This is something we saw in the last match as well, and we were a little bit surprised about it, but I think it's just accounting for the Shadow Step. Because at the same time here, very likely, he could just Shadow Step this back into his hand, heal himself up, and then it can't die to Explosive Trap now.
Right. So this is something to be accounted for that, because when it gets Shadow Step, it can also heal the 3/2 SI agent that would be on the board.
And there he goes.
Right. So this is sort of something that comes into effect by the fact that these 2 are practicing so much against each other. They're very aware that these circumstances come up and that their opponents aren't going to be missing these things. So I really like the Shadow Step here. It gives you again, it puts your Earthring Farseer back in your hand, which is going to counter one of these bow swings. You still have a fresh 3/3 on the board, and with 2 Gold Bloods and a Poison and a Blade Flurry, I think this is going to be a race that's really close because, again, Alchemixt has a lot of damage in his hand.
Yeah, and I mean, this is already, you know, he's gotten a lot of value out of this. It's already 6 that he's healed for. He'd be at 15 HP, which is a very scary position to be in when you look over at this Hunter's hand. When you think about it, if he's sitting at 15 HP right now, that's pretty terrifying, man. You know, 21 is feeling a lot nicer. He's going to be going with the double starving buzzer because he does have 2 1-drops.
Right.
3 1-drops, my mistake now. So, you know, he's going to be able to get a lot of card draw out here. And we'll see exactly what he's going to do. Do you think we just see the explosive trap come down now and poke the one? You know,
he's got 1 mana left, so this is kind of a tough spot for him to be in. I think he wants to just keep playing these Timberwolves and trying to get value from these kinds of cards because those don't function very well in this matchup. Hunter's Mark gives him some options now, but he can still use this Eagle Horn bow to clear this 3/3. So what he has to weigh now is he has to start looking 3 turns in advance. How does he kill his opponent, and how does he prevent from being killed? So
now,
these 2-drops and these 1-drops, they don't deal any damage unless they've lived a turn. But against a deck like Miracle Rogue, you're looking at Phantom Knives, Shivs, Backstabs, and Blade Flurries. These minions aren't very likely to live, so I think it's better to cycle them now and try to get to your sort of straight damage effects than it is to kind of rely on them to deal you extra damage. I like that he's going with the Timber.
Okay, so he's gonna do the trade there, and you know that's what I was gonna say. I mean, I was gonna say you have to really consider the Blade Flurry,
right?
And I mean, I think that's got to be what it's gonna be. He's probably just gonna go face and then Blade Flurry, and very likely. So I think that the trade was definitely intelligent because if you go face with that, then he just Blade Flurries anyway. Oh, drawing the Leroy is a big draw there, but yeah, definitely an intelligent trade, respecting the fact that very likely he has the Phantom Knives, has a Blade Flurry, has some way to deal with that.
Gosh, he's got a lot of options here, and this Animal Companion role could potentially change those options even more, depending on what you get here. Obviously, you want Huffer in this position, because you want to be doing as much damage as you can. I'd be very surprised if this Ironbeak Owl didn't hit this Gadgetzan Auctioneer.
You just can't
let him draw this many cards, because you're still fearing 2 copies of Earthring Farseer. You don't want him to find the second one, and you don't want him to enable all the damage he has. Savjz, though, already has Leroy and 2 Cold Bloods in his hand. This is potentially lethal next turn if Alchemixt doesn't develop this explosive trap.
Yeah, it definitely could be. One thing that we know that, you know, obviously Alchemixt doesn't, is that there isn't a second Earthring Farseer. He's just playing the 1, so he's not going to have that available to him, but as you said, he doesn't know that. There's no way for him to know that. So he's going to go with the explosive trap. He gets the Misha, and I mean, he can't go explosive trap Ironbeak. He pretty much, oh wow, he's not going to silence it. So that is some ballsy stuff, man. And
that's a really aggressive stance.
That is really, you know, letting some miracles happen here. And I mean, he could even put down a second Gadgetzan Auctioneer if he wanted.
Oh, geez.
Oh, man, this is going to get ugly. Look at how many spells he has in his hand.
I'm pretty sure this is actually lethal, because you're looking at returning this to the hand. The only thing he has to fear is if this is misdirection or not. So if he knows his opponent's list well enough, you're going to see a YOLO play.
Leroy.
But if that's an explosive trap, he wins the game here. But if it's a freezing trap, that could be troublesome as well. So he's hesitant to use these Cold Bloods because of what this trap potentially is. And the way that Alchemixt has played this, it's pretty tough to give that credit for explosive trap. So you're likely going to see a Dagger check for this and try to go for lethal next turn. But again, on the other side of the board, you're looking at Unleash the Hounds with a Leroy, plus 3 damage from this bow, plus 2 damage from this explosive trap, and a Timberwolf. So a lot of damage coming from the other side of the board. This is lethal potentially if he doesn't kill Alchemixt this turn.
I mean, the thing is, I think he's just going to go for it, man. He could check, but at the same time, you know, sitting at 16 HP, can you really feel comfortable with a bow charge plus, you know, all the potential damage? I mean, you've got to know there's a high chance that he could just die next turn. I feel like he's going to go for it. If he goes for the dagger play, he can't win this turn. He will win next turn, and he's not going to go for it. He's going to go for the safe play, see what he can draw out. He's going to go for the SI combo and probably poke him.
Oh, geez.
He's going to poke him. Oh, no, he's not going to poke him.
He's going to save, but I still think this is lethal anyway. 6 plus 8 plus 3. That looks like lethal to me. That's 17 points of damage. Yeah. So this game ending really quickly on the back. This is sort of the style that Savjz is, by the way. He's a very careful, methodical player. So not accounting for Leroy I don't think it's a mistake. He's just kind of chalking it up to the fact that if my opponent's got Leroy, I'm going to lose this game. But if he doesn't have Leroy, I'm going to win this game. So his play was set up to kill his opponent next turn 100% of the time. And with the other way around, if it's Freezing Trap or if it's Misdirection, he fails. And if it's Explosive Trap, he wins. So the